What if the whole thing was never real? What if that image we were sold, the big loving family, the shared values, the unity, was never anything more than a perfectly staged illusion? Picture this: Cody Brown sitting across from Meri, eyes cold, voice distant, telling her they're nothing more than friends, even though she's still clinging to hope, to history, to decades of shared life. Meanwhile, Robyn's over in her pristine corner of the family, enforcing strict COVID rules with military precision, rules so rigid they kept a father from holding his daughter's hand before a critical surgery. But all they didn't apply when Cody wanted to officiate a wedding. And then there's that daughter, Isabelle, brave, gentle, sweet Isabelle, sitting on the couch, softly asking why her dad can go to someone else's big celebration, but not to her operating room. That moment shattered something for a lot of us. Because we weren't just watching a family fall apart, we were watching the people who were supposed to hold it together turn their backs. And that's when the question started. Hey everyone, welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives Secret. I'm Oliva, and I want to thank you for being here with me. If you're just as shocked, frustrated, and heartbroken by what we've seen on Sister Wives, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Let's talk honestly about what really happened. Because here's the thing: what if Cody and Robyn didn't just watch the Brown family fall apart, but actually helped push it over the edge? What if the heartbreak we've seen, the divorces, the isolation, the tears, wasn't the result of outside pressure or cultural judgment, but a slow, internal betrayal, one powered by ego, favoritism, and emotional abandonment? This isn't about hate, it's about truth. Truth that so many fans have been screaming about for years. Truth that the cameras actually showed us if we were willing to see past the polished narrative. This family didn't just drift apart, it was quietly dismantled. And it starts with the two people who were always portrayed as a romantic center of the story, Cody and Robyn. Over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the patterns, the choices, the silence, and how behind the scenes of this so-called love story, there may have been something much colder, something that left the rest of the family emotionally out in the dark. Back when Meri was in one of the most emotionally fragile places we'd ever seen her, something happened that completely changed the tone of the show and her place in the family forever. It was the catfishing scandal, and on the surface, it looked like just another unfortunate online situation. But the more you watched, the more it felt off, too close, too convenient, almost orchestrated. Meri had been deeply isolated by that point. Her relationship with Cody was distant, strained, barely even a marriage. She was lonely. She was hurting, and then suddenly, this mysterious man, Sam, comes into her life online, showering her with attention, making her feel seen again. But of course, Sam wasn't real. The man she thought she was talking to turned out to be a woman, catfishing her behind a fake profile. Public humiliation followed. Cody used it as a final excuse to detach from Meri emotionally. It was framed as betrayal, even though by then there was no relationship left to betray. But here's where things get suspicious. Robyn's close friend wasn't just watching all of this unfold. She was involved. She vouched for Sam. She told Meri she'd met him, that he was rich, attractive, real. And this same friend had brought the catfisher, yes, the actual woman, pretending to be Sam, to a party at Meri's house before it all went down. That's not an internet scam. That's something happening right under their roof. Robyn later admitted on camera that her friend had been giving her updates during the entire situation. She claimed she asked her to stop, but never said when. And the issue was never really pressed again. For Cody, this scandal wasn't a crisis. It was an exit ramp, a way to walk away from Meri without looking like the bad guy. And Robyn, she stayed quiet but close to close. One of the most heartbreaking moments in Sister Wives history didn't happen during a screaming match or a dramatic family meeting. It happened in silence. It happened when Isabelle, Christine's daughter with Cody, prepared to undergo major spinal surgery, and her father chose not to be there. Cody said he couldn't go because of COVID, that it was too risky, that traveling and quarantining would jeopardize the safety of his home with Robyn and their kids. But just weeks later, he hopped on a plane to officiate a friend's wedding without a mask. That wedding, by the way, was in the same state where Isabelle's surgery took place. Same city, even. Suddenly, those strict COVID rules weren't so strict when the spotlight was on him. For Christine, it wasn't just disappointing, it was devastating. She had to handle the entire surgery alone. She had to hold her daughter's hand through the pain of having her spine straightened, and her lung collapsed, while Cody played MC at a wedding ceremony. She wasn't asking for a hero. She was asking for a partner, and he wasn't there. And for Isabelle, she asked for her dad. She wanted him there, and he wasn't. It wasn't about health. It was about convenience, control, image, Cody bent the rules when it served him. But when it required sacrifice, he stood behind policies that suddenly became immovable. That moment told Christine everything she needed to know. And you could see it, her heartbreak quietly shifting into resolve. This wasn't just about Cody skipping a trip, it was about him choosing not to show up when it mattered most. For his daughter, for his wife, for his family. ChatGPT said, from the beginning, Robyn was treated differently. While the other wives adjusted to plural marriage by learning to share time, space, and emotional labor, Robyn entered the family on a pedestal. Cody called her his soulmate, and it showed. But what didn't show, at least not right away, was how that favoritism quietly rewrote the rules for everyone else. Unlike the original wives who helped raise each other's kids, Robyn hired a nanny. That one move alone sent shockwaves through the family. It wasn't just about childcare, it was about separation. It sent a message: my kids are different, my rules are different. And it didn't stop there. When Meri was isolated during the height of COVID, Robyn, who was once her closest ally, barely reached out. And when Meri's mother passed away, Robyn didn't attend the funeral. She didn't send support, nothing, after everything Meri had done to defend her, to stay loyal even after being emotionally discarded by Cody. Robyn didn't show up. This wasn't just a cold shoulder, it was a pattern. Robyn also skipped the funerals of other wives, parents. She kept her world separate, insulated, and protected, while the rest of the family was left to grieve alone, struggle alone, and parent alone. Cody expected the other wives to make sacrifices to keep sweet, to fall in line. But Robyn was never held to those standards, and it broke the sisterhood. How do you trust someone who won't share the burden but demands the benefit? How do you build unity when one person refuses to participate in the family system but still gets all the privileges? Robyn claimed she wanted peace, but her choices, her absences spoke louder. They fed the distress, widened the gap, and made it clear she wasn't here to blend in, she was here to stand apart. It was one of the most heartbreaking splits in the entire show, not just between a husband and wife, but between two women who had once called each other sister. Christine and Meri, their bond, already fragile, finally crumbled under years of silence, resentment, and betrayal. And when it broke for good. Christine was the first to walk. After years of Cody's coldness, dismissiveness, and favoritism toward Robyn, she finally reached her breaking point. She packed her things, left Flagstaff, and started over. No hesitation, no second thoughts. She knew what she needed: freedom, peace, a fresh start. And she knew she'd never get it under Cody's roof or within a dynamic that had long stopped seeing hers worthy of love or respect. But for Meri, it wasn't that simple. Meri stayed through the emotional catfishing scandal, 3 years of rejection, through being publicly called a friend instead of a wife. She stayed, hoping, clinging, believing that maybe, just maybe, if she showed loyalty, she'd earn Cody's affection again. But that affection never came. Instead, she was left in emotional purgatory. Cody had already decided to move on, he just didn't have the courage to say it outright. And Robyn, she knew it too, yet she said nothing, supported nothing, did nothing. And when Christine left, Robyn didn't reach out to Meri. She didn't say, I know you're hurting. She just stayed quiet, and Meri, isolated and heartbroken, was once again the last to know she didn't belong. The saddest part, Christine and Meri couldn't even find comfort in each other. Christine had closed that door long ago. She saw Meri not as a sister wife, but as someone who once enabled her pain, and Meri saw Christine's freedom as a betrayal. Their paths had split completely. One chose self-worth, the other chose loyalty to a man who didn't love her back. Watching Meri try to celebrate Cody's anniversary with Robyn while being ignored herself, watching her smile through the pain, sit alone at family gatherings, and pretend things were fine, it was like watching someone disappear in plain sight. The audience saw it, the kids saw it, and eventually Meri saw it too. But by then, the sisterhood was gone. What was once a plural family built on the promise of unity had become a story of isolation. Robyn had her protected corner, Christine had her new life, and Meri was left standing in the ruins, asking herself what it was all really worth. By the time most viewers started noticing Cody's favoritism toward Robyn, the damage was already done. What once looked like romantic affection between them slowly started to feel strategic. Robyn wasn't just the newest wife, she became the only wife who mattered in Cody's world. The shared intimacy, the private jokes, the protective energy Cody reserved only for her, it all sent a clear message. This wasn't a plural marriage anymore, this was Robyn's marriage, and everyone else was just surviving it. Their connection didn't feel like to people in love, it felt like a calculated alliance. Robyn offered Cody validation, submission, and public loyalty. In return, Cody gave her priority, control, and power over the family structure. Together, they built a dynamic that increasingly pushed the others out. And they didn't hide it. The timeline says it all. While Meri, Janelle, and Christine weathered decades of spiritual obedience, child-rearing, and emotional sacrifice. Robyn was ushered in with legal status, a new home, and unwavering protection. She didn't blend into the family, she redefined it around herself. And Cody let her. Their bond wasn't just emotional, it was a system of control dressed as affection. And for the other wives, it became clear. The love they once believed in was now a hierarchy, and they were no longer at the top. So here's a question that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling: what happens when the story you were sold turns out to be a lie? For years, viewers believed in the Brown family's vision, one built on faith, sacrifice, and unity. And yet, behind the polished scenes and public statements, a very different story was unfolding. One where love had conditions, where truth was buried under image, and where loyalty was expected, but not returned. Cody and Robyn have worked hard to protect a very specific version of themselves, one that casts them as victims of betrayal and heartbreak. But when you look closer, you see a different reality. One where emotional abandonment, favoritism, and manipulation quietly fractured a family from the inside out. What did that perfect marriage cost? It cost Meri her dignity, Christine her voice, Janelle her peace, and their children, some of whom no longer even speak to Cody, their trust. And yet, in all of that loss, there's something quietly powerful. The truth didn't stay hidden forever. It leaked out in awkward silences, painful confessions, and the strength of women who chose to walk away rather than stay invisible. Maybe this isn't a story about the downfall of a plural marriage, it's about the end of illusion and the beginning of people finally choosing themselves. Thank you for watching TLC's Sister Wives Secret. I'm Oliva, and if this hit home for you, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's keep speaking the truth because it matters.